Let's go, everybody. Season 2, Episode 5, Sonoma State Dynasty. The 4-0 Seawolves head to Los Angeles to take on the undefeated, number 6 ranked USC Trojans, and we are talking all USC up and through this game today. So if you want to know what the other top games are this week or get an update on where we are in recruiting, check the end of last episode. I did all of that then. We're going to go deeper into a game plan today, and this will probably be the longest episode of the series so far. Again, I'm going to try to keep things to a minimum, but the more specific we get, the more I ramble on. So, a great chance today to see how we stack up against a high-profile team, no matter what your personal opinion is of USC or what you think of their current state of their program. In this dynasty, they're coming off a college football playoff appearance. They're number 6 in the country. They don't have an elite roster, but they do have some very top-end talent, some great athletes. So going up against what I would say is our first true Super 2 team in this dynasty. And again, the Super 2 are the teams that have the resources to most consistently win a national championship. And I didn't touch on this point in my deep dive videos if you watched those, but the only teams outside of the Super 2 that have won a national championship, or at least some form of a national championship, because again, it gets complicated because there wasn't a playoff for a long time, so there were different selectors of champions, and there were certain ones that were official and certain ones that were unofficial. So teams that won either an official or unofficial one are Illinois, Maryland, Syracuse, Arizona State, Pitt, SMU, BYU, and Minnesota. The only teams to win one by a major selector are Maryland, Syracuse, Pitt, BYU, and Minnesota. That's 5 different teams, and of those 5, 3 of them were won 1960 or earlier. So, also I should have touched on. So since 1950, of the teams in the Power 4, these are the only ones that have won a national championship. Well, I guess of the Power 4 or Group of 4, just no teams in the Group of 4 have won one at all in any sort of recognition or facet, at least in the way we have it set it up in this dynasty. But in 53, 59, and 60, a Power 4 team was recognized as a national championship by the main AP selector, the Associated Press. In 1976, Pittsburgh, and the most recent non-Super 2 team to claim a national championship is the correct way to put it, is BYU in 1984. So again, part of that is because we put Georgia Tech and Colorado in the Super 2 in the Big Ten and SEC. They shared a title in 1990. So again, want to reiterate the point. The Super 2, they're the teams we need to get up and match. And we get a chance to see how we stack up against USC today, who's an 86 overall, both on offense and defense. They run an air raid offense, but we'll touch a little more on that in a little bit, and a 4-3 multiple defense. So far this year, 31-19 over Ole Miss, 38-9 over Georgia Southern, and 35-14 over FCS East, which, if you don't know, is a default team they created to emulate a team in the FCS level of college football, which is Division 1, but a subdivision of Division 1. They don't have the actual teams in here, but they came up with some default teams to take their place in a way if you wanted to play them. I don't think you'll ever see them on this dynasty, but if we talk about a team and on their schedule, you see that that is what that means. So it's not really a real team. But the USC offense, led by Jordan Mailata, 93 overall, not many weaknesses. He has a strong arm, not elite arm strength-wise. He's elite pretty much everywhere else. It's very solid movement, not extremely dynamic, but plenty serviceable as a runner. And then he's backed up by Miller Moss, so he doesn't transfer in this game. And then Sam Levitt, who is the starter at Arizona State in real life, transferred to USC in this. So they have one heck of a quarterback room in Southern California. In the running back room, not a huge concern, at least right away, with number 22, Marion Peterson, and freshman Ryan Salsky. The receivers are going to be the main thing to focus on in this game. Big alert, starting with number 1, Zachariah Branch, an 88 overall, but 98 speed, 99 acceleration, 98 agility. Only 70 release, so that's how well he gets off of press at the line of scrimmage when we have our DBs come down and play right on top of them at the snap. So we need to come and get physical with Zachariah Branch. But they got a good complement of guys. They got number 8, Jacoby Lane, an 85 overall himself with 95 speed. He is also big, 6'4", good burst, great in traffic, and so is Deuce Robinson, 6'6", 220 pounds at receiver, a 96 medium route runner, 97 release. So Branch we want to get physical with, but Deuce Robinson, not so much. And then Malachi Lemon, 98 speed and 99 acceleration. And then a fifth guy we got to worry about is someone we know a little bit about, Titus Mokiao Atamalala, someone we went after in the transfer portal back in the offseason. Did not get him. I can't remember if he transferred from BYU or UCLA. I believe it's one of the two. But he is real, so if he watches this, let us know where you actually go to school. And best of luck to you in this next upcoming season. Titus Mokiao Atamalala starting in the slot for the Trojans in this one. At tight end, they got Lake McCree, an 87 overall. Not that he can be a dink and dunk guy as well, but much more of a down the field presence from Lake McCree. So we really have to adapt to tight ends as well. Got to be ready for threats in the passing game, especially downfield. Now going into this game, the O-line, I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting it to be solid, and it's not a bad group, but initially going in, I thought our game plan would look very similar to our second half versus UAB. I thought we would approach it in a very similar manner, similar fashion, but after looking at the O-line and looking at their vertical threat ability at receiver and tight end with Lake McCree, mixed with the fact that on the offensive line, I think we have the size on defense and depth to rotate our guys and match up and get down on the line. So last game against UAB, our adjustment was to only have 3 guys on the line, have more guys in the second level, in the third level, have speed to cover the field. We're going to need speed in the second and third level, so at linebacker, at defensive back, we're going to need plenty of those guys on the field. But I think we can get more down on the line of scrimmage and challenge their offensive line. I think we got a chance to really beat them at the point of attack. The interesting challenge to that is USC's offense. I mentioned it was an air raid, but their head coach in real life, Lincoln Riley, the coaches on the game, or the coaches in real life are not in the game. So the coaches in the game are fake, but the playbooks, at least initially, are supposed to resemble what the team's actually doing. So Lincoln Riley, USC's head coach, he runs an air raid, but what he really grew into primarily when he was offensive coordinator at Oklahoma and later as head coach was adding in a very gap-heavy run game. So we're going to see a lot of similar run concepts to what we run. So pulling linemen, down blocking, a lot of that stuff. And typically the answer to that is actually to get guys into the second level, because then you're asking linemen. It's harder to execute the primary block in that blocking scheme that most linemen are doing, which is a down block when you're going after someone in the second level, if that makes sense. But since we have the run stoppers to match up against them, I believe, I think we can get down on the line. We do a lot of slanting and stunting on the defensive line, and a quick note on that. I talked about this in the deep dive. Traditionally, in a 3-4 defense, you run what's called a 2-gap defense. So you have the 3 interior defensive linemen, and they're each responsible for 2 gaps. We talked about this a little bit. And in the 4-3, they're responsible for 1 gap. There is a 3-4 and other 3-4 systems that are 1-gap oriented. The most famous was originally oriented by Bum Phillips, who was the head coach of the Houston Oilers, and whose son was the head coach of the Cowboys for a little bit. He was the defensive coordinator for the Chargers when I first started watching them in the mid-2000s under Marty Schottenheimer, and then was the defensive coordinator for the Broncos when they won the Super Bowl in 2015 with Peyton Manning at quarterback, but with that super vaunted defense and pass rush. So I would say we're borrowing a lot more 3-4 elements from that defense as opposed to a traditional two-gapping defense, and a big part of that is we're having our linemen line up in one gap and slant into another one once the ball is snapped, and because of that, I think we can actually mess up their down blocking, getting on the line of scrimmage, and we can really eliminate the run game by getting guys on the line and experimenting more with Kai Riggins in the box as a linebacker. So we're going to have the big fellas on the D-line and their depth. We're going to let them go at it. And then the challenge to this as well, I mentioned the challenge that typically gap schemes, pulling linemen, you want to create levels. We're going to go away from that. So the challenge to this is a thin second level. So because of that, we're going to stay in two high safety defenses all game long. So if you look at the defense we are in, we're going to have a safety on each side of the field. Those deepest guys on the field, we're going to have one on each side, essentially the whole game. The red zone, when the other team gets inside the 20-yard line, will be the main exception to that. But if we're getting gashed in the run game, we're going to move into more of that game plan we used versus UAB last week. So more dollar defense, 3 safety, 3 corners against 3 wide receiver looks. I also have a unique utilization of our dime personnel with Kai Riggins at linebacker. We're going to see Kai Riggins at middle linebacker in this game. I think it's going to be a fun sight to see. And this is going to show off some really interesting elements to the 25 defense I didn't get to touch on in the deep dive, which is that I did want this scheme to be one that you would have to run when you're at a little more of a personnel disadvantage. And so in modern college football, where the pass game has become so prevalent and spread and spacing, all the super big, Super 2 schools like the one we're facing today in USC, they have really great edge rushers and pass rushers, because traditionally your best pass rushers line up on the edge of the line of scrimmage, so outside of the tackles or tight end out there, because typically that's going to be your best way to create a route straight to the quarterback, and if not, you're going to force him to step up into the interior of your line. So don't get me wrong, having good rushers on the interior is important, but it's that edge rush that is typically most critical, and because of that, you see so many great edge rushing talents at the bigger schools. So I think it's going to be harder to have the talent to truly have a scheme that relies on basic edge pass rushing when we get into these kind of games. And that's why we run a lot of those zone blitzes that have those stunts and then lock an edge on the other side, because we need to create those stunts and make it harder for the offensive line to pick guys up, because it's going to be much more difficult to win straight up when we are facing these higher caliber teams. But the other side to that is we want to be good enough to just win straight up when we play teams in our conference. So we want to find that good balance where we can lean into certain elements of our defense more against these better opponents, but then also have more simplistic things we're leaning into when we are taking on opponents of similar talent level. So we have some spot, drop, and lock coverages that I wanted to show real quick, because we will see them more in this game, and I was able to work out more what they look like going into this game. The first is starting from a 3 fire zone, and then you're just going to take one of your edge players, whichever one is closest to the guy you want to lock onto, put him in man coverage, and this opens up that guy playing that green zone in the middle to truly stay in the middle and help in that part of the field, instead of chasing and matching the number 3 receiver, which is the initial premise of the coverage. And then we do the same thing out of a 2 fire zone defense. So pretty much exactly the same concept. We just can present our coverage in a similar way and then play it differently. And then we have a couple custom zone blitzes, primarily out of Tampa 2, blitzing either a corner or an outside linebacker / slot corner, and then adjusting a zone, a cover 3, variations of cover 3, so cloud, buzz, match, normal cover 3, and then also cover 6, and then a new coverage that hopefully we will see in this game that I invented, I mean, there's coverages that look exactly like this and play very similar to this in certain aspects. I won't get into the total breakdown of it, but it is a Tampa buzz roll. And so we start in 2 high safeties. One safety slides down. And so typically when you have a safety buzz down, your other safety rotates over towards the spot of the field that safety who buzzed down just vacated. Instead, we're going to have our safety go the other way because typically the quarterback is going to be taught to read away from the direction the safeties rotate. But then when a defense does what we do and have them split, they're going to look in the middle of the field, and then we're going to have a linebacker do what's called a Tampa drop from a Tampa 2 defense, where he's going to run and cover that deep middle part of the field. So we're really trying to manipulate and play with the quarterback's eyes, and we're able to get a man coverage lock on the backside. So, just wanted to show that there are some different plays we're doing, and that is a big part of the challenge to this series, more than just strictly using players, is that I have to set all of this up myself. And it'd be great if EA added this feature. If you see this, EA Sports, it'd be awesome. Even if there's not like a create a play, if there's essentially a way you could edit a play to pre-save hot routes and stuff like this, especially on the defensive side, I think that would be super, super cool. But moving on to our offense and their defense. Very good run-stopping unit on the defensive line. Anthony Lucas, number 6, 83 overall, 87 block shed, 87 power moves. Right end, number 34, Braylon Shelby, in 82 overall, with 87 finesse moves and 85 block shed. And then the big, stout beast in the middle of this defense, number 90, Bear Alexander, 91 overall, 96 block shed, 91 power move. In the second level, in the secondary, a much better coverage unit, not as great against the run, except at that right outside linebacker position. In the secondary, not super elite coverage ratings, but very good athletes, very good movement skill sets, I feel like is the way I typically put it. Prophet Brown, number 16, 81 overall, 96 change of direction, only 71 man coverage, so in coverage ratings with CJ Peaks, we feel good, but again, that space is going to close the more we wait out of that break. Cornerback number 25, Marcellus Williams, 81 overall as well, 99 change of direction. So very, very good changing direction. You really need to come up with more phrases here. Quarterback number 29, Malik Crawford, 92 zone, only 73 man. So very, very good in zone. Not so great in man. Their free safety, number 7, Kamari Ramsey, he's their most well-rounded coverage player, actually, with 81 man and 87 zone ratings to go with 89 awareness, 87 play recognition, a 90 overall. He is the biggest alert for us in their secondary. And then strong safety, number 8, Zion Branch, 82 overall, but only 64 man coverage and 65 zone. So much more of a run-stopping safety, Zion Branch. In their sub-personnel, so when we go to 3 wide receivers, they put in a third corner. Their rush, still very good against the run, so opening up the run game is going to be a little more tricky than just going to a straight spread-oriented, spread option-oriented attack. Their linebackers solid in coverage, but struggle versus the run, which makes it interesting, because if we can get through their D-line, I feel good about our ability to pop some runs. But I feel like if we aren't able to get past the line, we're going to be in some really, really tough spots. Defensive backs, Marcellus Williams in the slot, he's not great at shedding blocks, so if we can get into some spread formations, because this is, I don't know if this is how real life it would totally operate, but in the game, if you run, say, a wide receiver where it would be 4 receivers on the field, and you put in a tight end or 2 tight ends, the game will typically match to the formation. The computer's defense will match to the formation and put in their nickel or dime personnel. So that's why I do a good amount of putting tight ends in the slot, and especially with our utilization of Spencer Strickland in the slot, that's the main point of using that in our game plan, is that they will come out in what typically is their more pass-oriented defense, and then we can shift into a run-favorable look with run-favorable personnel on the field, and that way we can open up the run game a little more. In real life, you'd probably have to find ways. They'd probably stay in more base personnel and match to that, and you'd have to throw, and then maybe they'd match to their sub, and then you'd have to go do more what we would do. So, I mean, there's still elements of figuring out what works in the game versus real life. But anyway, quick side note there. So our game plan, we're going to switch between our heavy and spread formation. So by heavy, we got the wishbone, 2 tight ends, 3 guys lined up parallel, essentially, not completely parallel in a wishbone, but more parallel to the offensive line than we would in the Maryland look here, where they're essentially creating a 90-degree angle with the offensive line. Then we got the goal line heavy, where there's no true running back, but I believe it's 3 tight ends and the receiver, and then an I formation tight, where we have a receiver on the field, fullback, running back, and 2 tight ends, and then our more spread personnel looks, where we have no tight end attached in the formation. So 4 wide receivers, flexed tight ends, going to utilize those wide splits that we've talked about, so get our receivers way outside, make it hard for the DBs to come help in the box. That'll be helpful for isolating and attacking Zion Branch. I'm not super concerned about their defensive backs in the run game. I almost want to get them involved in the run game more than take them away, but it's also a really helpful indicator getting in those formations in terms of identifying what coverage they're in, because based on how they initially line up and what you adjust to, it can reveal a lot about what they're doing. So we want to move into our more base stuff after starting off of that, try to be more side to side. We don't have a lot of tosses, that's why we use more screen game to take the place of tosses in our offense, and RPOs to take the place of tosses, get it on the perimeter that way. More bootlegs. Their ends don't have great change of direction ability, so if we can get them flowing in one direction and then having to go defend the other way, I like our chances there, especially with Barnes' ability as a runner. RPOs put their linebackers in conflict, and then alert to number 7, Kamari Ramsey, on passes. Well, essentially, alert to where there's which safety is where, because number 7, Kamari Ramsey, we want to stay away from throwing the ball. And number 8, Zion Branch, we want to go after throwing the ball, no matter who he's up against. Receiver, linebacker, receiver, tight end, running back. We feel good about all of those. So we want to go after him in the pass game, but we want to stay as balanced as possible throughout the game and then open up ourselves. I don't like the way I was saying that. Open up the pass game a little more at the end. Put tight ends in spread formations, get them into nickel personnel, attack the slot, Marcellus Williams, with the run game. Last quick few notes before we start. I know this is a lot. We're going to ask guys to do a lot of things that they don't do a ton, at least in terms of how much they do it in this game. So, again, there's kind of some fluidity in our defense naturally in bringing our safety into the box and calling it more of a rover and utilizing and being able to use Kai Riggins and feel comfortable doing that in this game as more of a Mike linebacker, because we have him rotate down into the box and line him up in the box as a linebacker almost a decent amount. And then we have more fluidity in that our slot corner, I want to almost be more of a free safety type. So with that unique dime personnel we're going to utilize, where we have Solomon and LeBourne in the slot, Riggins is going to be at middle linebacker, Pace is going to be up at free safety, and then Dakota Mills is going to be at strong safety. Not something we do all the time, but I think in terms of installing just a game plan for a single game, we can do that. So excited to see how those things work out. But some guys in some different roles, Bubba Van Claiborne, the BBC Pipe, and Marquez Carty, going to ask them to take a little bit more of a back seat today, because we want our big guys on the D-line and then focus on speed and pass coverage in the second and third levels. But look out for them in the red zone. We're still going to call on them when we have the condensed field that we are defending when the Trojans get within the 20. And quick note, all about making plays at the right time. We want to get ourselves in the game in a position where we can just make one play that really changes everything. So with that being said, let's get going. Sonoma State, USC at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. Going to test the full lengths of the Coryell spread and the 25 defense today, throwing on the all-white uniforms. Because we use two different powder blues, and with the team builder, most of the players' accessories, their color is our primary color, which is the darker blue. I had to find which players had that problem, and I went through and changed them for this game, so the white and powder blue will match up and be more prevalent, but I really like that dark blue and lighter blue combination we wore versus Stanford because I don't have to change anything. But the powder blues for special occasions, and this is one of them. A showdown with the Trojans. Spike it into the ground, getting ready to run it out. There's 24, and here come the USC Trojans of the Big Ten. Look at that crowd, folks. Look at the fire going off, the pageantry of college football on full display, and the Seawolves in the center of it in the midst of a 4-0 season, but a new challenge today as they take on the 6th-ranked team in the country. George Lincoln sends it away, and we are underway in Southern California. Bubba Van Claiborne getting an appearance on special teams, but it is Tanner Milam with the tackle, and that'll bring out the junior quarterback from Hawaii, Jaden Meiava, and he is a talent. And here you see what I was talking about. Those three guys on the interior over the ball. Weeks on the right side. Bloom left side skates. Riggins at middle linebacker. We ran that Tampa, I believe that was a Tampa buzz roll as I led in another accent as I slip on my words. And they slip it right behind the guy dropping off the edge. That was Jordan Underwood. Out quickly to the side again. And a couple of first downs off the bat for USC. So no totally explosive plays, but they're moving. They're shifting. Riggins at linebacker, Underwood and Garland, the two edges on the line of scrimmage. Underneath Meiava, it is complete, and it is another USC first down for Jackson. 2nd and 5 in Sonoma State territory. We're going to see this formation a lot, and that is an element of this defense I haven't really talked about is that I want to show a lot of different formations and run a lot of the same plays when we are taking on teams more in our conference on a similar talent level. When we get into these games against better teams, we're going to be in the same formation a lot more and run different variations as Jaquez blanks almost gets the interception. 2nd and 10. Man in motion. They were doing that a lot. And it is Jaden Bowie coming up, laying the wood. And it is a 3rd and 14. Meiava gets pressured, throws it away, and of course, that is the big key. Can we get heat on the quarterback, get him uncomfortable, get him throwing the ball before he wants to the spots he doesn't want to, and see if we can get that to work in our favor. 3 points, very much a win for our defense to start it off, and DeMarvin Holland is going to take it across the 20, and that is going to bring out Barnes, CJ Peaks and company for their first drive of the game in Los Angeles. And here's that Maryland formation. 3 guys in the backfield, real power eye here. 2 tight ends, gonna mix in a lot of these looks with the spread game and looking for a hole on the first play. Not much going on for Tyson. He's been one of the great breakout players of this offense. Here you see the spread formation. Bentley at the top of that stack. To the left, I believe McLawler to the right, so 2 tight ends there, and we run it up the middle with Spencer Strickland. Going to really challenge his role in the offense today. I think we can get him very much involved and make a lot happen. And here, again, with that personnel, we can shift, get into a 2 tight end look, see how spread out they are because they have extra defensive backs on the field. Maybe a little bit of a helpful animation. We do come across and get the block, but there was space nonetheless, and a couple of chunk runs for Spencer Strickland as we look to answer. Ball around midfield, gonna go with the counter this time. Should have burst to the left a little quicker and more authoritatively, but only a yard. 2nd and 9 from the 45-yard line. Nolan Knight in the backfield on the left side, gonna get the ball here. Again, need to hit the hole more aggressively on the ground. 34 on it, and the Trojans get a takeaway on their first drive on defense. So that defensive line causing issues in the run game like we thought it would. It's going to be important to find the balance of opening up the pass game so we're not getting stuffed, but staying disciplined, because if they're able to just drop and sit in coverage, they have the athletes to start jumping and breaking on routes. So we need to try to find a way to stay balanced, keep the run game involved, and we're kind of going to need to eat some of those 2, 3, 1-yard runs even in order to maintain such balance, because those runs will help us run different things, show different looks, and be able to be more successful doing some different things. For the second time, settling for a field goal. USC and sneaking it just inside the right upright there. Offsides is the freshman Josh LeBourne. Penalty is going to be declined, and the Trojans go up 6-0. So much like our last game versus UAB, where we were settling for field goals early, we're doing the same to USC. Huge for us. 2 possessions where we have given up scores, but only need a touchdown to take the lead. And here we see that goal line heavy formation, man in motion. Barnes on the move, trying to get it over the middle late to Maverick Bentley. Cannot. Pressured, and then a false start from the freshman guard, Miguel Weeks, on that right side. So a 3rd and 14, this second drive, not going too well, and somehow put in there, puts it on the correct shoulder. We release it right on time here. See the DB, he's keying on that underneath guy, looking at him, and then looking to fall back on that route, and we're able to get it out just before he turns back for it. And then because of the side we put it on with Javon Moore, we're able to get it in there before he can make a play on it. Such a tight window, NFL-style throw from Barnes, and a big first down on this second drive. Strickland on the ground again. He has been the most successful runner in this opening quarter. 6-0 Trojans, going to empty out the backfield. Try to get Strickland on a hot route. We were dealing with this much of the game, and is another aspect with us being on the road, that miscommunication. He does pick it up, and we get it to him, and that's perfect. You'll see here, they blitz, so we need to get it to someone quick. That's the danger when you go empty and have no tight end attached to that offensive line, is if they bring 6 guys on the blitz, they got everyone one-on-one in the passing game, but you're going to have an unblocked player coming in. So we got to have someone that can win quickly, and we can get the ball to quickly. Run game continues to get ate up. Tyson is ate up. He is banged up, and he will go to the sideline. The bootleg. Jackson Gregory, maybe a case of the butterflies. A lot of room to operate, but drops it on the deck. 3rd and 11 in what? Still our second drive on offense late in this first quarter. Play clock winding down, trying to get on the same page with our receiver on the left side. Looking for him. Barnes. Incomplete, had to get it over that linebacker. I probably can still throw that more on a line and still get it high. I don't think I have to loft it as much. But it allowed them to make a play. We punt it back. Pressure on Mayav on the next drive, and we need a lot more of that as we see it here. Riggins gets cut, but because of our stunting and the way the O-line operates, plus Garland, if you don't notice on the right side, occupies a blocker and then drops off into coverage, so we're able to force a pressure off not actually running a true blitz. But an absolute dime from Mayav right there, the full 92 overall rating on display, and a real exhibition of what we want to do against this rushing attack right there. Have our D-line hold them up, string them out, and let our speed in the second level chase it down, and then let our D-line, as they get off blocks, come clean it up, let the secondary come collapse, tackle as a team, take care of it. Trips formation, 1st and 10. Riggins, right on it, lays out Lake McCree, could have had an interception right there. And here trying to get Garland to lock on the tight end, since he has his hand in the dirt, because you can't actually make them an outside linebacker, you just kind of have to utilize them as a right end. He can only cover anyone that is attached to the line or in the backfield. So whenever the tight end is an unattached receiver like that, we can't do anything out of that formation. Settling for another field goal. Don't know how we don't block it, but 3 drives, 3 field goals for the Trojans. A win for us in theory, but we need to start putting some points on the board ourselves. And you see it again there. Do not know how Roderick did not get his hands on that one. Gonna empty it out. McLawler, the tight end, in the slot on the left in that close side of the field right there. Pete's in motion. Cross screen to Strickland. Blockers get out. Set up nicely. Strickland is loose, and perhaps our first chunk play of the game. I cannot fully remember if we had one earlier. I guess that 3rd and 14 where we squeezed it in would be our first chunk play of the game. But gonna run some option out of the wishbone here, which I believe was the initial use of the wishbone, was the option. I don't know if it was more power run first, but great block by Nolan Knight. Great block downfield by Bentley, and Spencer Strickland has almost 60 yards on the ground on just 4 carries, and he is having his most impactful game. Quads look, 6 on the line, showing a pressure. We're just going to go right up the middle, let the O-line get down, make that extra guy look clueless. Barnes, touchdown, Seawolves, right back in it. A crowd silencer from number 5. Where's the volume? Nowhere. 9-7 now as the Seawolves get right back in it, and this defense's work coming, I don't even know. I lost my train of thought. Stupidity moment from Calvin right here. Anyway, Seawolves in the end zone, right up the middle. That extra guy on the line is unblocked, but since we're so quick up the middle, it does not matter. And the freshman, Ryan Salsky, up the middle. He ended up being a major thorn in our side that I was not necessarily prepared for, but at the same time was playing a position we were a little more willing to let get loose because of their other threats. And that play before this one, the last one, what an improvement from last year. I think we all know what would have happened. Up the middle, Peterson, defense taking care of it, and this rush defense keeping the cap on. You're seeing some good, decent chunk runs, but also some nice plays. Riggins, second time this season with an interception. The freshman from Logansville, Georgia, has been such a huge addition to this team with what he can do on the defensive side, what role he plays in this defense. It's such a big part of what makes us work. And then we see the trap play work a little weirdly, but in our favor for a chunk run there. Barnes should have just taken it for the first down or thrown it out. I really saw the numbers for the blocking and was like, wow, that'd be so awesome. No one picked up a block. So, need to just be smart, take the first down, get him punted away with Matthew York. Bounce down, and Michael Roderick Jr., number 4, downs it inside the 10, just outside the 5 at the 6. Quick throw out wide. Here we see that dime personnel I was talking about. We have 4 true run-stopping defenders on the field, and because at a school that's not a Super 2, I think it'd be hard to get a super deep crop of top-end true 300-pounders, so I try to take advantage of some more like 270, 280-pound guys in some unique ways, playing them as a 4-3 strong side end or a wide technique 3-4 end in over and under fronts. Could get way more into the specifics of that, but want to stay focused on the game. Read option. Barnes' speed comes into play here, and he gets a gain of 9. So this is what I was talking about. We kind of had to eat some of those ugly runs earlier, but it's opened up some things for us, and we go to Spencer Strickland for a first down off of the shift. And on first down here, as the half winds down, we're going to shift into that duo over weak formation. Get into an option. Barnes out to Strickland, who's going to get around the corner and take it into the red zone to the 15-yard line. 78 yards on the ground in the first half for Spencer Strickland. He has had major involvement here. Barnes up in the pocket, cuts, shows off the elusiveness and change of direction, and gets inside the 5. His shiftiness and athleticism at quarterback is something we are not probably not going to be able to replace when it is his time to move on. It is special, folks. Strickland up the middle, touchdown, Seawolves in the lead in Southern California, trying to prove who the best team in California is, and in the battle here, the Seawolves take the lead. Nomination 14-9 into the half, so a 9-0 start for the Trojans, holding them to field goals on their first 3 drives. So huge. So we go 2 drives with nothing, 2 drives with touchdowns. Maybe we got stopped in between, I can't remember. But either way, they had 5 drives, 3 field goals. We had 5 drives, 2 touchdowns, 5-point lead, and we get the ball to start in the second half. Barnes from the pocket, over the middle looking for Milam, cannot hang on. Tight windows, and you see the speed there with him running across the field. Huge. Blocking for Barnes. Open field. He is free. 20-15, 10-5, 4-6. Noma Nation. What is going on in Southern California? The Seawolves putting the college football world on notice right now as they take a 2-possession lead on USC. And we see the wide splits coming into play there, and the blocking downfield exceptional. Unselfish from the Seawolves. Great culture. Gritty guys playing for each other, getting downfield. Look at that. Suachu, Miguel Weeks, either CJ Peaks or Javon Moore. They have very similar gear, so I can't quite tell. Look at that. And Barnes in the clear, takes it to the house, looking like Denard Robinson with Michigan back in the day. Shoelaces flopping in the wind. I think Barnes keeps his tide, but the Seawolves, electric. The quarterback run game cashes in, and the defense looking to get back to work. The freshman, though, making it tough, and there, Titus Mokiao Atamalala, the former target of our own in the transfer portal, a little banged up on the direct snap, able to string it out, and a 3rd down for USC. This defense making a statement, has been so improved so far this season, but this has been a whole other exhibition so far today. Trying to get outside with Peterson. Collins cleans it up. A number of Seawolves in the area, and SSU looking to keep the momentum rolling. 3rd and 10. Saw the run continue to get ate up there. Barnes finds Peaks in man-to-man coverage right out of the break. His first catch today. He has been the breakout player of this receiving corps. First involvement of the afternoon in what has been an exceptional game for Sonoma State thus far into USC territory. 21-9. Barnes calls out the signal. Counter for Tyson. Breaks off a hit. His first time finding space today, and he takes it inside the 30 to the 28-yard line. Barnes and the passing game finding rhythm. That is more into the red zone at the 12. Tyson 8 up, downhill in the interior of the Trojan defense. Bootleg for Tyson, looking for Peaks, cannot hang on. Good leverage on the route there, able to get a hand in and break it up. 3rd and 9 from the 11. Barnes to Scotty Mack, touchdown Sonoma State. They go after number 8, Zion Branch, and we talked about it. 64 zone, 65 man coverage. Scott McLawler, better route running ratings. If we can get essentially anyone on our team man-to-man on him, find his responsibility in zone and attack it, we like our chances and we see it coming to fruition right there, and it is a 3-score game in Los Angeles, 28-9. Over pursuit from Riggins and Salski right up the middle, and USC not giving up on the run game even though they are trailing, and that is Nico Solomon. One of the benefits of having him in the slot in that dime personnel I was talking about is his ability to get out and play the bubble screens. But Salski, 25, introducing himself to the nation. Peterson on the ground, rush defense still at work. That is Pace coming in and making a play. Riggins in the middle. Mayava, plenty of time, a second too late, and it is complete over the middle. We see it again, the reaction. Just a hair later than it needed to be, and instead of a broken up incompletion or an interception, it is a chunk play for the Trojans, but the rush defense not giving up. Mayava to the edge on 2nd and 9. Complete for a first down. That is Mokiao Atimalala. Mayava keeps the athleticism on display, crosses the plane, takes a hit, touchdown. Trojans, the score they needed to change momentum, they get an USC. Put themselves back into the mix. Plenty of time on the clock. In real life, just under 18 minutes of play. We play 11-minute quarters here, so just under 14 minutes. In terms of numbers of play that will be ran, I think it'll be identical. Tyson ate up. Critical third down. Not on the same page with Milam, and the ball goes right back to USC. Would have loved to have ran out the quarter on that possession there, and for the first time today, we see Zachariah Branch's speed on display in the punt return game, not as a receiver. Had Peterson swallowed up, breaks it loose, one of the most impressive 1-yard rushes you will ever see, and Salski gets to the edge. If you don't know Ryan Salski, which you definitely didn't because he's not a real person, he is generated by the game, you know who he is now. Look at him, elusive, spinning, the speed, 5 yards. To the fourth quarter we go. The phones are out, the spirits still up in the Coliseum. A critical third down on the outside again for a first down. Number 14, Mayava, looking good, and Atamalala underneath. Him working in the under concept right there, the under drag route in a drive concept is what I'm trying to say. Was brutal, but Lake McCree, the tight end, is in the end zone. He says, crown him, and the Trojans have stolen momentum, and it is back to a 1-score game, but for the second time today, looked like it should have been a blocked kick. We cannot get it to go our way, and this offense needs an answer, but the interior of the D-line not making it easy. Peaks on the outside, fake the screen to the right, throw a curl back to the left in man-on-man coverage, hit it right on time for a much-needed first down. Gonna go show that motion that we show a lot when we run read option out of this formation. This time, look to slide, hit Peaks again, this time on a comeback route, and the offense getting a little movement and changing the flow of the game just a little bit, but that is erased immediately. Swallowed up Barnes in the run, swallowed up Barnes with a sack, and just like that, 4th and 21 with just over 6.5 minutes to go, and I couldn't really tell you what happened there on the punt. I don't know if I held down the button too long, or if Matthew York was shook by the crowd noise, and for some reason it just boofed the power. I don't really know. But Atamalala on the edge, USC on the move, looking to get back in the lead. Collins laying the wood. Barbecue chicken, as Gus Johnson would say. 2nd and 10. Mayava, fancy footwork. Atamalala over the middle. He's over 100 yards, under 5 minutes. My voice is on the brink of cracking. To the outside 21. USC in the red zone, 28-23. Peterson swallowed up. There we see Van Claiborne. Hasn't been a huge part of the game today. Like I said, very game plan relevant, and there we see them working in the drag route on that under concept. I just talked about it. Absolutely killed us. Needed a better answer to it. On the ground, Peterson. Van Claiborne, the pipe, stuffs it up. 2nd and goal from the 5. Outside of 3. Mayava to the outside. Picking on Riggins. His weakness is man-to-man. Atamalala coming back to haunt us. Puts us to sleep. And USC looking to put it in to get 8 in a 2-point conversion. Collins, what are you doing? It's good. Trojans by 3. They're fired up. Just does not find the ball. So any criticism you have for that 3rd and 14 earlier, we don't find the ball too sometimes. So there you go. It's equal. Milam underneath. Near the sticks. Just under 3 minutes. 2nd and inches. Oh, it looks so good, but Milam cannot secure the block, and Tyson is swallowed up. Bootleg from Barnes, looking to get outside, cannot, laid out, pushed out, and a 4th down on the other side of the 2-minute timeout. Motion, QB blast, just barely, heart-pounding, under 2 minutes, 31-28. Personnel spread out. Calling out the signal on 2nd and 10. Trying to hot route. Cannot get it down. Question marks everywhere. Oh my goodness. Run a play. Here we go. Barnes up on 2nd and 10. Slides for a gain of 6. To the line quick on 3rd and 4. Just outside a minute. Strickland. Perimeter. 1st down SSU. To the 43. Clock running. Barnes looking to make a change. Patience. Underneath. Javon Moore needs to cut it up for the 1st. Does not. And the clock continues to run. 2nd and 2. Looks to the sideline. Clock running. Play action. I thought it was going to be a run because that's what they showed. And a huge sack. So 3rd down and 6. And they give us one high press man, and we have to bring out the certified hood classic of a route concept, the drag with the wheel. Set up the pick. Here we go. Barnes peaks big time to the 20, inside 20 seconds, to the line quick. Clock running from the pocket. Barnes gets out. Out of bounds. 6 seconds left. My goodness. Thriller of a game here in the Coliseum. Tyson, 4-2, sets us up in the middle of the field with 2 seconds. Field goal is up. It is good. Clutch. 31-31. We are headed to overtime for the 2nd consecutive time on the road. 2nd time in 3 weeks. Prevailed last time. What does this occasion have in store, as we will be starting on defense this time? We started on offense last time. Had a little bit of a brain fart. Shifting from USC on 2nd and 7. Mayava in a rhythm. That drive concept drag route underneath again. Inside the 10. Peterson to the perimeter and in. Touchdown Trojans, and they get in the end zone in the 1st possession of overtime, and it goes back to Sonoma. Pressure on. Barnes peaks. 1st down. He has come alive in the 2nd half, and so is this passing attack. Play clock winding down. Tyson swallowed up. Bear Alexander making the play. 2nd and 9. Cannot get it. Had CJ Peaks. And that sets up a huge 3rd down. Trying to change routes. Communication is off. Still not going through. I don't know if I needed to show this many of them. Play clock under 5. 3rd and 9. Barnes. McLawler. Touchdown. Sonoma State. 2 catches. 2 touchdowns for number 80, Scotty Mack. And nothing special with that celebration. Just simple. Touchdown. The game will go on unless we want to win it now. And we do. We're going to at least show it. Going for 2 for the win. Do like the look. We are going to run the play. We get it, we win. We don't, we lose. Barnes looking for McLawler with a flag down. It's incomplete. Who is it on? Ineligible on Sonoma. And the game is over. The Trojans prevail 38-37. A 19-point comeback victory for USC here in Los Angeles. An absolute ESPN classic here on Rabbit Hole Sports and Media today. TB5 making a habit of being the player of the game. In exciting losses, 208 yards through the air with a pair of touchdowns, added 119 on the ground, and a couple of more touchdowns, but a heartbreaking loss for the Seawolves, their first of the season, and the Trojans get to celebrate. Jaden Mayava, a fantastic game today. We see the total stats. More total yards on offense, did a great job creating some opportunities to run the ball, but we see Mayava very efficient. Not a ton of chunk plays in the run game, and it is Kevin Skalski, not Ryan Salski. I apologize for that. Mokiao Atamalala, absolute thorn in our side today, especially during their furious comeback. He only had 3 or 4 catches before then, and then finished with the stat line you saw there. Barnes, exceptional game. Tyson only 12 for 25. He definitely had to eat a lot of those smaller carries, and it really opened up opportunities for Barnes and Strickland in the running game. So in a non-statistical oriented way, a game ball for Keontae Tyson. And Barnes, Pac-12 Player of the Week, 327 total yards of offense, but heartbreak for the Seawolves. Looking at the rest of the country this week, Michigan, 35-17 over the Texas State Bobcats in Ann Arbor. And then I didn't know it last episode, but it is just the Commander-in-Chief trophy. It's what the Air Force, Navy, and Army are playing for. I thought there were individual trophies for the specific matchups. There are not, as far as I know. Air Force, 28-3 over Navy. Miami, 28-24 on the road in College Station. Stanford, at home, exacts revenge from last year's Pac-12 championship. A 42-28 victory in Palo Alto over the Gauchos. Ball State, 31-23 over Northern Illinois to win the Bronze Stock Trophy. And Liberty in a ranked matchup with the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. Win it 29-24. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. That is going to do it for this episode. I know it was a long one. I'm going to keep the games where we're playing these bigger opponents to a shorter length going forward, closer to the more regular video length that we have going, which is going to settle in around that 30-35 minute mark. Just wanted to articulate some more specific points in this one today, hence the longer runtime on the video, so I apologize for that. Or maybe you liked it. I don't know. If you want me to do longer videos, let me know. It definitely takes more time, but at the same time, I do love talking about all of this stuff. But next week, we head to New York to take on the Syracuse Orangemen in the Carrier Dome.